Diddy's troubles just got a whole lot worse after rumor has it that both he and Ellen just got implicated by Twitch's wife as the masterminds behind his untimely death. And it gets worse, allegedly. Twitch found some seriously incriminating tapes of Ellen, and he was planning on going public with them, but rumor has it Ellen got Diddy to get to him before he could make his move. And now all this drama is getting exposed, and this might be the nail in the coffin the feds have been looking for to ensure Diddy never gets out. So you guys better grab your seats, because what I am about to share is going to blow your minds. I am telling you, things are heating up in the Diddy trial, and it's rumored that Diddy will not be going down alone. You see, after the recent day of trial, rumors have started going around that Ellen might be joining her good friend Diddy soon in jail after Twitch's wife allegedly exposed their role in his untimely death. Now, the official story is that Twitch tragically took his own life in a hotel room in late 2022. But if you've been keeping your ear to the ground, then you know the internet has never bought this story. Rumors have been swirling for a while now that Twitch may have stumbled across something he was never meant to see, and it allegedly involved a disturbing video linking Ellen and Diddy to some really questionable stuff at one of Diddy's infamous freak-off parties. Now, according to some whispers from so-called insiders, after Twitch found out what was really going on behind the scenes, he may have become a liability. People are saying that's when things took a dark turn. Suddenly, he's gone, and the explanation we're given just doesn't sit right with a lot of fans, especially considering how loved, vibrant, and seemingly full of life he was just days before. And now, with all the heat surrounding Diddy's trial, lawsuits, and serious allegations, it's being said that Twitch's wife allegedly gave the feds some seriously damaging information about Diddy, Ellen, and a lot of other celebs. And if that's true, then names are going to start coming out. Big names, Ellen being the biggest. And let's not forget, Ellen has already faced massive backlash over her alleged behind-the-scenes behavior and connections in the industry. Now, this is where everything starts to get seriously chilling. An infamous leaked voicemail was allegedly played during Diddy's trial, and reports suggest that it might be the missing piece that ties Ellen DeGeneres to something way darker than anyone imagined when it comes to Twitch's tragic death. We already knew there were whispers, but now, with Diddy's mounting accusations involving everything from manipulation to full-on coercion, people are starting to connect the dots. And the theory that's emerging is absolutely wild. Was Twitch dragged into something sinister, something he never wanted to be part of? Let's not forget, Ellen wasn't just some casual acquaintance. She and Twitch were tight. He was her DJ, her sidekick, her dance buddy. He even referred to her as family. So if these rumors about Ellen having ties to Diddy's freak-off parties are even halfway true, then what exactly was Twitch exposed to behind the scenes? And then there's that viral video that set the internet on fire where Ellen was asked point blank about Diddy and his growing scandal, and she just froze, like full panic mode.
Ellen!
Don't call me, motherfucker, trying to talk to me, find out some shit.
Bro, nobody's calling you. I blocked your number.
Bad news, you know what I'm saying? If you ain't calling me to uplift me, if you ain't calling me to I'm not 911.
Yeah, I know you running from 911.
Don't call me unless there's some love on
love.
The end of the phone.
Bro, love is law.
I don't want nobody
You made a big mistake, B. Diddy, I'm gonna catch you. I'm gonna find you. Let me tell y'all a true story, B. So, boom, my man's called me like, yo, bro, I know where Diddy at. I know where Diddy at. I said, where he at? He sent me the location. Boom. So when I got there, guess who was there? First thing first, guys, he sees me, stuff like this. He said, true story, come on, bro. I said, nah. I don't even want to talk. He said, come on, let's just talk it out. I said, they let you out of jail? He said, of course, bro, I'm rich. I said, bro, they should have left you in these streets. He's like, nah, bro, I'm gonna catch you this time. I said, Diddy, relax. Diddy, relax. I seen that video of you talking about, don't call me if they ain't no love, 911. Bro, you give me strings of me again. Diddy, you really want to go back to jail? He's like, nah, bro, I'm tired of this. He starts crying. I said, Diddy, you crying? He said, yeah, bro, you keep finding me. I said, bro, I got people, I got eyes in the sky. I told you can't escape me. He's like, yo, let's work out a deal. I said, all right, so what you want to do, Diddy? He said, if I give you $500,000, would you leave me alone? I said, maybe. Yeah, that doesn't sound too bad, bro. You got the money? He said, listen, you seem like a guy I could use in my camp. I said, bro, I'm never working for you. Diddy, chill out, bro. I'm not working for you, bro. Your name is shot in these streets. I can't be running with you. He's like, all right, bro, so listen. Just come down with this party with me, daddy. I said, bro, don't you dare say that shit again. Take that back, bro. He said, my bad. Bro, so, he's rich. Bro, stop playing with me, son. Lay Diddy down. Mind you, I hit him. His head hit the porch head like, boom. He was like, help. I said, bro, nobody's helping you. You public enemy #1, bro. And wait. Before I knock you out, he swings. Diddy, relax, homie. Before I knock you out again, can you please explain this picture? He's like, what picture? Let me show you. This picture, Diddy. What is this? They mixed you with Epstein. Bro, this shit he swings at me. Yo, Diddy, who did this shit? I said, bro, I don't know. I'm asking you. Did you do this? He said, I would never do that. But Diddy, you was running with him. And you talking about you won't do anything to me. Bro, stop swinging on these again. Bro, stop playing with me, son. Lay Diddy down again. Mind you, at this point, he's crying out, help. I said, bro, be quiet, bro. I said, bro, get up, Diddy. Get up. We got to finish talking about this. So now Diddy's like, yo, bro, I'll give you anything you want. You want a record deal? I said, bro, I don't want no record deal for you. Yeah, but you're going to have to be down with Bad Boy Records. I said, bro, I'm never going to be down with Bad Boy Records. Bad Boy Records, your whole legacy is over. And plus, before I knock your ass out again, what really happened with Biggie? Swings at me. Oh, yeah? Bro, stop playing with me, son. Lay Diddy down for good. Real talk, Diddy. I'm going to see you every time you come outside. You just got out. What, you thought you were safe because you just got out? I found you. Next time I run into you, Diddy, and you don't have a real good explanation to all the shit you've been doing in these streets,
y'all, P. Diddy case is over with. It's over with, y'all. That case has died, y'all. Everybody that they have brought on that stand is not relevant to nothing. They don't have no physical or they don't have no evidence that this man has did anything pertaining to a RICO. It is not a RICO. It's a freako. This man is locked up for being a freak. I think this was more so of a let's exploit this man. Let's take this black billionaire and let's make him look the worst of the worst of the worst. Let's put him down in his misery because they can't stand to see somebody up. No, when the Illuminati see what you got going on and they think you bigger than the machine, oh, they got to bring you back down to the warehouse worker. Oh, you the warehouse worker. You're not the machine that you running. You are the warehouse worker. And so once they realize, hey, this black man is getting these billions of dollars, oh, and he's a freak, oh, we just finna put him on trial and we finna make him look like the worst creature ever. Cassie, you a liar. And that's all there is to it. So y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Is this a freako or a RICO?
Hey everybody, Charles here, and if you had day 17 in the Diddy trial as the biggest one yet, guess what? Bingo, you won, because today was probably the most eventful day as far as things that happened that were said on the stand, and most importantly, things that the judge said, because Diddy almost got kicked out of his own trial, and we're going to get into how that happened. But he's actually, he didn't get kicked out yet, but the truth is, he's now on notice, and at any moment, he could be kicked out of the trial. So here's why that is the case. During the day started with Brianna Bongolan. She is the stylist who was testifying yesterday. She talked about this incident, she says, when Diddy dangled her off of a balcony from 17 stories up. And also talked about drug use and all of that. Well, she was being cross-examined this morning. And the big thing that Diddy's defense was going in on was the timeline. She had testified that this happened on September 26th, 2016. And the defense showed evidence that that Diddy was actually not in LA at that time. He was in New York, and their big thing was, how can he be in two places at once? And they were making the point that you made this up. That was the push that they were making here. And they certainly were making a good impression, I think. It was very clear. If she said the date was the 26th, he's in New York, they have a hotel, the name of the hotel, they know when he checked out on the 29th, could not have been him, and probably making a good point. But Diddy reacted to that, and this is why the judge ended up calling him out and calling out his attorney, warning about these behaviors that Diddy was exhibiting in court. So the moment that this happened, during the cross-examination, the judge says, all right, we're going to take a break from Brianna's cross-examination. The jury leaves the courtroom, and then the judge basically says, hang on a second, Mr. Agnifilo. Mark Agnifilo, of course, Diddy's lead defense attorney. And he said, your client had better knock it off. And if he doesn't, I'm going to have to take extreme measures here, and that could include removing him from the courtroom for the remainder of this trial. What was going on was that, according to the judge, Diddy was looking at jurors. Now, that in and of itself is not any big deal. He's looking around the courtroom, was what's going on. That's not a big deal. But what the judge said he was doing was looking at jurors and nodding in approval of things that were being said in the court, whether it was points that his attorney was making during cross-examination, or maybe it was the fact that Brianna Bongolan didn't have a good answer for why she got the date wrong, and really seemed confused. And Diddy, obviously, that's good for his side, so he's nodding in approval. But apparently he was looking right at one of the jurors while he was doing that. It's not really intimidation, but it could be swaying the jury. If he's looking at a juror, they're hearing certain testimony, hearing points from his lawyers, and he's looking at a juror going like, see, yeah, see, I told you. If he's doing anything like that, that can influence the jury. They also, while the judge did not use the word intimidation, it is possible they could feel intimidated also. Remember, these jurors have heard hours and hours and hours of testimony about how he has allegedly threatened, intimidated people who were close to him, people that he says he loved. So if you're a juror and he's looking at you, why wouldn't you potentially feel intimidated? So that's why the judge made this extreme warning to Diddy. And I got to say, it is extreme. Under the Constitution, every defendant has a right to face their accuser. So Diddy being in court for all of these proceedings is a constitutional right. And if it got to the point where the judge did say, I'm removing you, I'm sure the defense would put up a huge stink about this. I'm not sure how it would turn out, but I would imagine that's why the judge made that stern of a warning, and I'm sure Mark Agnifilo had words for Diddy when they took this break, saying, we're playing with fire here. So, and it's really important that this happened when it did, because they came back from the break, there was some more cross-examination, and the whole Brianna timeline thing was sorted out. But we're going to get to what happened after Brianna in just a moment, because that's when victim 2, who is a former girlfriend of Diddy's, took the stand. And you got to imagine that his attorney said to him, you cannot look at the jurors and react to anything she's about to say. So the Brianna thing, let's just clear up this timeline. Did it happen on the 26th? Did she make it up? When they came back from the break, the prosecutors on redirect pointed out that there's a text message from Cassie to Christina Coram. You've heard her name before. She's been described as Diddy's chief of staff. So when they came back from break on redirect, the prosecution is addressing Brianna, and they showed a screen grab of a text message between Cassie and Christina Coram. You've heard her name before. She's been described as Diddy's chief of staff. This screenshot was on September 30th, And it is Cassie describing the whole incident very much the way Brianna did on the stand. So clearly it happened, and clearly Brianna got the date wrong. But the bigger point with the jury is it did happen, right? That he dangled Brianna off this balcony 17 stories up. That's really the important point, and that's what's going to sit with jurors. Now, that's it for Brianna. Then victim number 2, who is testifying under a pseudonym. She has requested anonymity. The government and the judge have granted that. So she is testifying under the pseudonym Jane. Jane is a former girlfriend of Diddy's, and once she got on the stand, she started talking about, in sort of loving terms, how she and Diddy got together. She talked, and this was a moment that definitely drew some laughter. We know from our producers that this drew laughter in the overflow room where people are watching, and there were giggles in court as well. She talked about their nicknames for each other, which included Bert and Ernie. Yes, Sesame Street. I'm not sure, I don't know that I've ever heard of that as a pet names. The Sesame Street reference definitely got some giggles in the courtroom. She said that she was Bert and Diddy was Ernie. That's how they referred to each other. And she also talked about the freak-offs, in particular, the very first time that it happened. And she said that they were in a hotel room, they were watching pornography and sort of talking about fantasies. And she took it as, she said that she took it as them just talking about fantasies. Like, he mentioned something about bringing a third person in, and she was like, yeah, that would kind of, yeah, I could be into that. And he's like, all right, cool. Now she goes up, gets up, goes to the bathroom. She said, thinking all along that this was just, you know, sort of pie in the sky, like maybe we'll do this someday, maybe it'll be a fantasy. She said when she came out of the bathroom, Diddy was on the phone making a phone call to make it happen that night, which was, she said, pretty shocking. But she said she did these things, and why she did it, she says she was in love with him. She wanted to keep him happy. And she also admitted that there was a lot of money in it for her, that there was an allowance that she was getting, an allowance that was up to $20,000 a month. And she said she enjoyed that money. There was one moment where, you know, she's talking about getting this money from Diddy and why she stayed in this. And then another thing that came up with her finances, and there was a noticeable reaction in court, even jurors who sort of reacted to this. And the reason the prosecutors brought this up is because they knew the defense would definitely bring it up on cross-examination. So the other thing that got some visible reaction from people in court, including jurors, was when Jane talked about starting an OnlyFans. Now, she says she actually discussed this with Diddy and told him, look, I don't have any other income. She referred to herself, basically her only job being a social media influencer. And so she first went to him with this idea, saying, look, I'm thinking about doing this. I've heard friends and other people who are making up to $4 million a year doing this. What do you think? And she testified that Diddy told her, no, you should not do that. So she ultimately did not start the OnlyFans, but certainly there were some eye rolls where people are like, oh, this is where this is going. When court ended today, we hadn't really gotten to anything. She hadn't really gotten to any violence, but it is going to be interesting as this continues, because you got to expect that she's going to have some stories very similar to the things that Cassie talked about. Now, her life in these freak-offs is certainly going to become a big thing, because if the government is going to make their case here to convict him, the jurors are going to want to hear from her that she also felt forced into this, that there was coercion, that she felt like she couldn't leave because under the threat of violence. If she doesn't get to those things, I think the jury is going to say, what's the point of all this? We already know, we've heard from Cassie, we've heard from assistants that he was violent and that he was abusive. How are you going to make the point that he is forcing women to stay in these relationships? And that is the sex trafficking charge. So it is going to be explosive, I think, again tomorrow. Jane is going to have a lot more detail about their relationship. But the takeaway today, and if you're looking for the winner, I got to say it's the prosecution. Because aside from that warning, remember that warning to Diddy that he could be kicked out of the trial, that didn't happen in front of the jury. So they don't know about that. So you can't factor that into who's a winner or loser. The biggest thing today was whether or not Diddy actually dangled Brianna over this balcony. And in the end, the prosecution presented something that made it clear that it did happen. So I'm going to give this one to the prosecution today. We will see what happens with Jane's testimony tomorrow. She's got to get to a lot of important points here: violence, coercion, all of those things. And then we'll see who the winner and loser is tomorrow.
Hey, I really don't know what's going on with you, but I just want to just give you a heads up that I'm about to really disappear on you. You feel me? I'm not going to be playing these games with you at all, at all. So I don't know, you think you silent treating me, and you think I'm going to be, nah. You'll have a rude awakening. You'll just have silence. And ain't nobody threatening you, and I ain't trying to go back and forth with no woman. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, I ain't got no time for no motherfucking games. Where my life is at right now, I don't have no time for no games, baby girl. Me and you could be mad, I could have a spat, we could have whatever. Then after that, you better get on your job. That's really, that's all it is. Cause you got me on my job. Nah, it ain't never gonna work like that over here. You know what I'm saying? I was trying not to leave this message, but you have left me no choice. So either you go in the direction of like moving on and shit like that, or you like just like have me just keep moving. Ain't no threat, I'm just being clear. I can't do this shit with you every time you get upset.
Hey everyone, I'm Ashley Banfield and this is Drop Dead Serious. It's day 18 of the federal trafficking trial of Sean Diddy Combs, and the testimony that we heard today was some of the most disturbing and frankly sickening that we have heard so far. On the stand once again was the woman known only as Jane, and what she described wasn't just abuse. It was vile and graphic, and it was cruelty, emotional cruelty at the highest level. Jane said that she was forced into sex acts to the point of exhaustion. She described total submission to Diddy, a life built around pleasing a man that she said controlled everything: her body, her image, even her rent. She took us inside the so-called love contract, a $10,000 a month deal that she says kept her financially afloat but emotionally trapped. She broke down as she described back-to-back sex. Hey everyone, I'm Ashley Banfield and this is Drop Dead Serious. It's day 18 of the federal trafficking trial of Sean Diddy Combs, and the testimony that we heard today was some of the most disturbing and frankly sickening that we have heard so far. On the stand once again was the woman known only as Jane, and what she described wasn't just abuse. It was vile and graphic, and it was cruelty, emotional cruelty at the highest level. Jane said that she was forced into sex acts to the point of exhaustion. She described total submission to Diddy, a life built around pleasing a man that she said controlled everything: her body, her image, even her rent. She took us inside the so-called love contract, a $10,000 a month deal that she says kept her financially afloat but emotionally trapped. She broke down as she described back-to-back sex acts that Diddy demanded with 3 different escorts on her birthday. She described how she wrote about her desperation to stop these freak-offs, hotel nights, she called them. Some of those messages she sent to Diddy, some she just journaled in her iPhone. And today, in front of a packed courtroom, Jane reached her breaking point, sobbing to the point of being unable to speak. We are breaking it all down: the texts, the money, the hotel nights, and the power imbalance that prosecutors say is at the center of their case. Let's get into it. But I'm going to warn you, it is very, very graphic. This podcast is dirty and upset. And I am having trouble actually believing this is possible. Sometimes with 4 different escorts in one night. I should remind you, if you're trying to do the math on this, that she said that these freak-off hotel nights could go up to 30 hours with no sleep and a lot of drugs in order to stay awake. She said at least 3 to 4 hours it would take with one escort. So just imagine the exhaustion that she would feel afterwards. You're going to hear a lot about that in a moment, that she did bring up how exhausted she was and that she needed breaks. But hang on to your hat about what she was told about that. She testified that everything was always under Diddy's direction. He decided how long the sessions would take and when she would be able to take breaks, when she was allowed to eat, when she was allowed to sleep, and when she had to just keep going. Jane cried again and again on the stand as she described the only ways that she could communicate that she needed a moment to rest with Diddy. She'd say that she was hungry, or she'd quietly lie down, but that Diddy wouldn't take the hint. She recalled him saying, quote, "You're not getting tired on me, are you? Let's finish strong." Do you remember hearing that before? Let's finish strong? Because that was something that stood out to me and made me wince. Cassie said the same thing when she was getting tired and she didn't want to continue. Diddy said to her, according to Cassie on the stand, "Let's finish strong." When the prosecutor asked why she just didn't say no, Jane choked up again and said, quote, "I don't know." Prosecutor followed up, "What did he give you to keep going?" And Jane replied, "Ecstasy." She said she took a lot of ecstasy during those hotel nights, and she said it was to numb herself to survive it. Again, I'm hearkening back to Cassie because she said almost the exact same thing, that she tried to numb herself to get through these endless hotel nights just to please Diddy, just to avoid the consequences, and that drugs were her way out. Jane recalled 2 hotel nights that stuck with her because both of them made her cry, she testified. The first one was supposed to be a date night. At least she said that's what she...
No.
Was it your understanding that this damage was accidental or intentional?
Intentional.
You can take that down now, Ms. Foster. When was the last time you saw Ms. Ventura?
2012.
Where did you see her?
At the Soho House.
When did you see Ms. Ventura at the Soho House relative to the day your car was on fire?
Couple of days later.
Why were you at the Soho House?
I reached out to Sean Combs after my car had caught fire and, finally told him that we needed to meet up to talk, He had been wanting to talk to me, so after the fire I was like, this is getting out of hand. I need to talk to him.
Why was it Mr. Combs you reached out to after the fire?
Because I knew he had something to do with it.
Your Honor, can we have a sidebar?
Is there an objection?
Objection.
Objection is sustained. The jury should disregard the witness's last answer. Ms. Johnson, you may ask your next question.
Ms. Cuddie, who, if anyone, helped arrange the meeting at the Soho House?
This man named D-Rock and my manager, Dennis Cummings.
Who is D-Rock, if you know?
I don't know exactly what he does for Mr. Combs, but I guess he was like security or somebody.
Do you have an understanding that he worked for Mr. Combs?
Yes.
Where at Soho House was the meeting held?
It was held. The rooms are not there anymore, but they used to have meeting rooms on the first floor.
In which city was the meeting held?
Hollywood.
In Los Angeles?
Yeah.
Can you describe what happened when you arrived at the Soho House?
Yeah, I walked in and I met D-Rock. He was escorting me into the room, and then I got to the room. It was one wall, was all window, and Sean Combs was standing there staring out the window with his hands behind his back like a Marvel supervillain. Yeah, it was just me and him in the room, no security, nobody.
Was Miss Ventura present when you initially arrived at the meeting?
No.
What happened when it was just you and Mr. Combs in the room at the Soho House?
We discussed, pretty much the whole story about how me and Cassie first started to date, to what it was, to how it ended. And his whole point was, we were homies, that was my girl. I let him know that, she told me they were broken up, and I took her word for it. Yeah.
What was Mr. Combs' demeanor during this meeting?
Very calm. He kept offering me water. He offered me water twice.
What was your reaction to his demeanor?
It was very off-putting. It was weird that he was so calm.
You mentioned that Miss Ventura wasn't present when you first arrived.
No.
Did that change?
Yes, she eventually came.
And how did you react when Miss Ventura arrived?
I was upset to find out that she had kind of went back to him.
What did Miss Ventura do when she arrived?
She pretty much kind of explained that we fell in love and things just happened and, you know.
I believe you testified to this earlier, but how soon was the meeting at the Soho house in relation to the day your car was on fire?
I think it was like the next day.
At the same time, did you have conflicts with anyone else?
No.
Can you describe how the meeting with Mr. Combs ended at the Soho house?
Yeah, we stood up, shook hands, and as I was shaking his hand, I said, "What are we going to do about my car?" I made sure to ask him right when our hands were clasped together, where he couldn't run away, and I could look him square in his eyes. And he looked right back at me, very cold stare, and said, "I don't know what you're talking about." And I said, "Okay." I took my hand from his, and he said, "Wait, I thought we were cool. Is there a problem?" I was like, "You said you didn't burn my car, right? You said that's your word." He said, "Yeah." I was like, "That's it."
When Mr. Combs looked at you and said, "I don't know what you were talking about" when you asked about your car, what was his tone of voice?
Very calm.
After this meeting, were there any other break-ins at your home?
No.
And after this meeting, was your car ever set on fire again?
No.
Have you seen Mr. Combs since that Soho house meeting?
Yes.
Approximately when did you see Mr. Combs?
A couple of years later at the Soho house again.
Can you describe what happened when you saw him at the Soho house a few years later?
Yeah, he was with his daughter and he pulled me to the side and basically apologized for everything. He said, and I quote, "Man, I just want to apologize for everything and all that."
Between the break-in and the car fire and Mr. Combs' apology a few years later, did you have any other conflicts with Mr. Combs in that interim time period?
No. After I got the apology, I kind of found peace with it because I thought, you know, that was the last thing I was expecting to get from him.
Your Honor, may I have one moment?
You may.
No further questions at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
No one saw it coming. The federal courthouse in Manhattan fell completely silent as Janice Combs, Sean Diddy Combs' 83-year-old mother, was escorted to the witness stand. Diddy, who had maintained his composure throughout the trial, visibly stiffened. His attorneys exchanged alarmed glances. The prosecution team sat up straighter. This was the moment that would change everything. If you're new to our channel, please take a moment to like and subscribe for the most comprehensive coverage of high-profile cases like this one. We provide factual, in-depth reporting you won't find elsewhere. Nobody expected Diddy's own mother to testify. The room was already filled with tension during what had been a contentious day of proceedings. Eyes were fixed on the elderly woman as she carefully made her way to the front of the courtroom until she was sworn in. Gasps echoed through the gallery. Even the judge seemed taken aback. No announcement, no warning, just Janice Combs, the woman who had stood by her son through decades of success and controversy, now prepared to speak under oath. Until that moment, Diddy had appeared confident throughout the trial, frequently consulting with his legal team and occasionally smiling at supporters in the gallery. But something had changed. Maybe it was seeing his mother, his most loyal defender, taking the stand as a prosecution witness. Maybe it was the realization that the person who knew him better than anyone was about to speak freely. Maybe it was the dawning recognition that his carefully constructed defense was about to crumble. Whatever it was, Diddy was done pretending. He wasn't sitting there as a celebrity anymore. He was there as a son watching his mother prepare to tell the truth about him. And when Janice Combs began to speak, the courtroom wasn't prepared for what they would hear, because what his mother revealed about their private conversations, her growing concerns over the years, and the truth she could no longer deny, wasn't just devastating to his case. It was a mother's painful reckoning with who her son had truly become. It started like any other day of the trial. The room buzzed with low conversations. The press hunched in their designated rows, and lawyers whispered strategies as they waited for the day's proceedings to begin. But when the prosecutor announced the United States calls...
I really don't know what's going on with you, but I just want to just give you a heads up that I'm about to really disappear on you. You feel me? I'm not going to be playing these games with you at all, at all. So I don't know, you think you silent treating me, and you think I'm going to be, nah. You'll have a rude awakening. You'll just have silence. And ain't nobody threatening you, and I ain't trying to go back and forth with no woman. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, I ain't got no time for no motherfucking games. Where my life is at right now, I don't have no time for no games, baby girl. Me and you could be mad, I could have a spat, we could have whatever. Then after that, you better get on your job. That's really, that's all it is. Cause you got me on my job. Nah, it ain't never gonna work like that over here. You know what I'm saying? I was trying not to leave this message, but you have left me no choice. So either you go in the direction of like moving on and shit like that, or you like just like have me just keep moving. Ain't no threat, I'm just being clear.
To even mention the fact that you were sexually assaulted allegedly, and you waited until you did that because you had an attorney, correct? And she's like, no. Like, they made it a point to mention that her attorney is working pro bono. And she's like, no, it wasn't that. I just didn't have the resources. I didn't know how to go about things. They brought up the fact that she had been speaking to Cassie during, the time that Cassie's settlement had come out, allegedly. And, and Amia admitted, like, they did have some conversations, but she said that they never talked about the case and then preparing for the case. But this whole time, I'm like, okay, Brian Steele, I think you're good at what you do, but at the same time, like, what are we getting to here? Because how do we prove that, her reaching back out and staying connected wasn't something that has to do with her mental health? Like, there's no way that you can properly prove that. We put the expert on the stand to talk about that, to talk about trauma and how it affects different people and PTSD, which Mia said prior to that she had experienced, and going back to work for celebrities after working for Diddy allegedly. Like, and defense was like, no, we don't want this expert on the stand. We don't want to talk about that. So this woman is leaning into all of these things. How do you prove that or disprove it for the defense? Why are we having this conversation? And then Brian still just start going in. He gets to the point where because now he's starting to say things more direct, because you were lying, because this didn't happen, things like that, right? And I'm like,
One thing Dawn said is after she saw Diddy beat Cassie the next day,
he came in the room
and threatened her.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Dawn is testifying that exactly what she talked about in her civil suit, in addition to some other things, that they were in a house in LA in 2009. Diddy beat Cassie because Cassie wasn't finished allegedly making his food on time. And the next day he came in the room to talk to her and her band member, and he basically told them, allegedly that he told them, don't say anything. What y'all saw up there was passion. And when people say stuff about things like this about me, they end up missing.
That's not speculation. That's reportedly in the court transcripts. Then there's Diddy's daughter. If you needed a stark visual of how serious things have become, it was her walking out of that courtroom. No arrogance, no attitude, just a blank, pale, and utterly silent expression. Even the relentless paparazzi didn't try to shout questions. She didn't even look up. Sources claim her reaction came immediately after the audio was played, which only amplifies the disturbing nature of what might have been heard inside. The implications here stretch way beyond just legal trouble for Diddy. This is now about shattered reputations, a family legacy hanging by a thread, and a tangled web of secrets involving some of the biggest names in entertainment. Will Smith's name being dropped wasn't just a casual mention. It's reportedly directly linked to that audio. And the internet went into overdrive the second that happened. The second Will Smith's name hit the headlines in connection with the Diddy case, the internet went into a frenzy. Old clips, awkward side-eye interviews, podcast snippets. Suddenly, every past interaction between Will and Diddy was being dissected under a harsh, new light. One interview that went viral again was comedian Luanell casually mentioning that Diddy and Will were clapping each other's cheeks. She said it so offhandedly that most people missed it the first time around. This time, it exploded. The internet ran wild with it. Memes were born, and the speculation began to snowball. But then the rabbit hole got deeper, darker. Fans started revisiting old footage of Will with his son, Jaden Smith. Those affectionate kisses, the overly playful energy that once seemed like quirky father-son moments, were now being rewatched through a completely different, unsettling lens. People started voicing their discomfort, saying something felt off. The tone of the commentary shifted from amusement to genuine unease. Then came the nuclear moment. Brother Bilal, Will Smith's former assistant, dropped his own set of